What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Camper Report. Don't have a whole lot for you guys today. Obviously, I'm a few minutes late. I don't have a whole lot for you guys today, but I will be doing another show on Tuesday night with Steph Sanchez from 49K podcast, I think it's called. And so that should be a lot of fun. She's a very knowledgeable 49ers fan and knowledgeable person that covers the 49ers on her own YouTube channel. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll get a deeper dive into some of these NFC West draft prospects that the NFC West drafted. And more importantly, we'll get a deeper dive into some of the 49ers draft prospects. But today, there's been within the last week a lot of fifth-year options getting picked up, players that have the fifth-year option, first-round picks that have been drafted in the first round. Because basically what happens with the NFL, if you're drafted in the first round, you automatically have a 4-year contract, but then the fifth year is a fifth-year option. So once the team gets to your fourth year, they can choose to keep you around for another year, and that's the fifth-year option. So quite a few players this last week. It's quite a few high-profile players this last week had those fifth-year option contracts. Now, I apologize. Obviously, Grandizer, there he is. I apologize once again, everyone, for being late. Got back about almost an hour ago from bowling, so that was pretty fun. But apologize for being late there. I haven't made a show actually in a while. Haven't had a show, but I want to thank you guys for the continued support because this last few weeks have been the biggest weeks in the Camper Report history. I mean, my watch time hours are way through the roof. I had a video blow up. Just a lot of things have been going up for me with this channel. And so I want to thank you guys for that. I'll try to continue to pump out content as the seasons get busier and busier. But man, you guys have been an awesome support system around me. And just, I've seen the comments. It's great. People asking me to be asking to be co-hosts on the show. And I'm like, man, I love it. I love it. I love all the support. And so I thank you guys. I'm going to try to do more live shows. But then again, so before I start these topics, Tuesday night, probably, it's not set in stone yet, but Steph Sanchez from 49 Carat podcast will be in the house on Tuesday night. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll take a deeper dive in some of the 49ers prospects there. But yeah, guys, get your comments in the chat if you don't have them. Well, if you have them, because this is going to be a shorter show. I don't have a ton of topics to talk about. I've been busy, so I haven't really prepared for all of the topics I said I would cover in the description, but I will cover the fifth-year options here. So let's talk about fifth-year options. Some of the bigger names that I will cover will be Joe Burrow, Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, and then Chase Young. So Joe Burrow, Chase Young, Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb will be kind of some of the guys that I will discuss today. I do want to look up, and obviously Isaiah Simmons as well is kind of an interesting one. But there were a lot of guys who kind of, this was the list of fifth-year option players this year. Joe Burrow, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Andrew Thomas, the right tackle, or I think it's left tackle from the Giants, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Derek Brown, Isaiah Simmons, CJ Henderson, Jedrick Willis, which I don't know who he is, but Mekhi Becton from the Jets, Tristan Wirfs from the Buccaneers, Jerry Jeudy from the Broncos, AJ Terrell from the Falcons, CeeDee Lamb from the Cowboys. So quite a few bigger name players. The quarterbacks in there were pretty big. I mean, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, those three quarterbacks there all got them picked up. This should be an exciting because next year there's going to be quite a few free agents that didn't get their 5th-year option picked up. Chase Young, for example, didn't. The Commanders, he's going to enter free agency next year because Commanders did not pick up his 5th-year option. Isaiah Simmons didn't get his 5th-year option picked up. CJ Henderson didn't, which he's kind of was a little bit of a bust, but he didn't get his 5th-year option picked up. Mekhi Becton didn't get his 5th-year option picked up, the left tackle from the Jets. He's kind of been injury prone this last year. Obviously, Grandizer says Javon Kinlaw, 5th-year option declined. He said, y'all will regret it. Man, with what I like, my take on Javon Kinlaw is he's a hard worker, but he's kind of trying to like self-promote himself right now because it's like last year he was saying, I'm going to get over this injury hump because that's really been the thing that has derailed his whole career is injuries and the injury hump. And last year he said, I'm going to get over it. He never ended up getting over that injury hump. And so now it's like, he the last 4 years have just been, his whole career has been derailed by injuries. And so if he can show this year for the 49ers they can somewhat stay healthy, then great. But other than that, he said that he's going to break out. He said last year that he was going to break out, and then he didn't. His knee kept acting up again. And so I don't know, man. At this point, whatever we get out of him is great, but it's good that the 49ers didn't pick it up because 5th-year options are expensive, especially for how high we drafted Javon Kinlaw. We drafted him 14th overall, and that's like $10 million a year, get fully guaranteed. So 5th-year options can be very costly, very expensive. So I like what the 49ers did there. Grandizer says, yup, Joey Fisher, you got to take your victory lap, got to try and interview Joey Fisher. So funny thing with that, I did text him on Twitter, and he did actually respond with a thumbs up. I showed him my breakdown of the video breakdown that I did of him a few months ago, and he responded with a thumbs up. I wrote him a really nice letter, and he keeps like my messages keep saying seen. He's been leaving me on open basically. And it sucks. I mean, I've been writing him. I wrote him twice asking him for an interview. Right now he's really busy though, but I've written him twice asking for an interview. He hasn't responded, but it says that the message has been read. So he's been seeing them, but it just, yeah, that would be an amazing guest to have on because I was one of the first people to discover him. Or I got to give props to my brother because my brother, Joseph Camperman of the Long John podcast, shout out the Long John podcast, basically said, you need to check this guy out. And I did check him out. So he really gets all the credit for discovering him. But I brought it to the light, Joey Fisher. Dolphins drafted 3 first-round prospects in 2020. Only 2 has got picked up. The other 2 are busts. Horrible. I dislike one, Austin Jackson, offensive tackle. Oh my gosh. Yes. Wasn't he? Okay, you're a Dolphins fan, so you would know this, but Grandizer, wasn't he your guys' right tackle, was it? That guy was freaking terrible last year. Oh my gosh. I remember him. I remember him specifically against the Green Bay Packers last year. It was like the Christmas Day game, and that guy gave up like 3 sacks. I agree with you. Hated the other, Noah Igbinoghene, cornerback. Yes, Igbinoghene coming out was very hyped up and then never really panned out. I really liked him as a prospect coming out. But anyways, 5th-year options. So let's get to the first kind of guy that I want to talk about, or 2 guys, Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb. This is kind of going to be a similar, I wrote in my notes, similar situation to what happened with Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown last year. basically what happened last year with the Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel situation was each one of those guys, all three of those guys who were all drafted in the same draft class, the 2019 draft class, all three of them basically held out for contracts until one of them would sign a contract, and then all three of them signed. The strategy to this is those three receivers, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, and Terry McLaurin, are all in the same draft class, and I would say same tier of receivers. And so they were all holding out, and whatever the other guy got, they were going to ask for from their respective teams. So I could see this happening with Brandon Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb when they both go asking for contract extensions from their respective teams, because they're both going to want a big time contract, and they're both probably going to be made one of the highest paid receivers in the league. And so we're going to see probably the same drama that happened with Deebo Samuel happen with Brandon Ayuk. 49ers fans, don't panic. I think Brandon Ayuk is going to get extended. Here's the thing. Here's my theory with the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk. If the 49ers, there's been a lot of rumors, well, we trade him. We don't have enough money to keep him around. And I'll get to that in just a second. But if we were to let him go, we would be so stupid. And here's my reasoning. He is just now starting to really break out. And really, you see with most NFL receivers, they really don't start to hit their stride until year 3, and then they become elite. And this guy, I think the reason why the 49ers really didn't draft much receiver this year is because they're going to try to force feed him the ball a lot more this season. And I like it, because here's the thing with Brandon Ayuk. It's like this guy is now just finally starting to hit his stride, and he showed elite flashes last year. And if the 49ers were to let him go, they would be kidding themselves. They would be making a terrible mistake, and they know that. So they need to keep him around. And I just think that here's my theory. George Kittle getting a little bit older, and somebody on Grant Cohn's show, the Cohn Phone, mentioned this today. And they said, do we trade George Kittle, our tight end, after this year? And I said, and Grant said, I mean, that's not a bad idea. George Kittle's close to 30 years old, 28, 29. And even though he's still a very good tight end, his production the last 2 years, he hasn't really seemed as dominant of a tight end as he was in 2019. And it's just with receiver, especially how physical of a tight end he is, he never plays a full season every year. I mean, last season he played 12 games. He got healthy towards the end of the season, but a guy like him never plays a physical style that he plays, will not last much longer in the league. And it's you want to kind of try to replace him. And so if they get rid of him, I didn't actually get the time. Let me look up his, sorry guys, I have been nonstop all day, but let me look up his contract for 2024. Because the thing is right now, I think you could still get a pretty good price for George Kittle from a different, from a desperate team. And so it's what I could see them doing is after next year, just trading him. George Kittle contract. Okay, so I got it here. Okay, so his contract it actually ends in 2020. Yeah, it ends in 2025. I could see after this next year, he's owed about, so in 2024, his cap hit is $13 million. Let's see, his cap hit is actually $19 million. His average salary is about $13 million, but his cap hit, the dead cap would be $9 million. And if you were to cut him, you would lose around 19 million. I think that's what it says. $19 million. Almost 20, $19.8 million. So his contract is getting expensive. And if you can trade him, that gets him off the books, and you can now extend Brandon Ayuk, because right now it's looking like the 49ers probably won't be able to extend Brandon Ayuk without getting rid of one of their stars that is highly paid on the team. And right now, I would rather have Brandon Ayuk for the long term than George Kittle, just because George Kittle's age His production has kind of fallen off the last few years, even though he's still good. And his cap hit is $20 million almost in 2024. This year it's $18 million. So that's my theory. I think the 49ers try to ship him after this next year. He still has, I mean, a lot of teams in this league would still love to have George Kittle. Okay, so let's get some more of the comments. One more thing, guys. Like, in my comment section, every video, it's so cool because it's like I'm seeing people that are like people that are just so supportive, and it's really cool to see. So I thank you guys for that. And I want to get consistent with these live shows because it's like if I get consistent, I could have a lot more of a live audience. Okay, so Grandizer says, "Oh, good. At least you tried." Yeah, he is probably getting ready to move, going cross country, etc. Yeah. I think he was talking about Austin Jackson, the offensive tackle from the Dolphins. Oh. He was talking about Joey Fisher. Joey Fisher. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Joey Fisher's really busy right now. Maybe in the summer I'll hit him up again, but yes, I definitely tried. I tried actually the first time I DM'd him was Super Bowl day. And he saw that as well. So, do you think Danny Gray had a better season last year? Ayuk would not get sorry. Do you think if Danny Gray had a better season last year, Ayuk would not get re-signed? We now definitely that Ayuk would not get what? Okay. Slashed. Oh, sorry. Ayuk would get re-signed / we'd now definitely that Ayuk would get re-signed. I know what he's meaning here. So is Danny Gray if Danny Gray would have broken out last year, essentially what Grand Azure is saying, if Danny Gray would have broken out last year, Brandon Ayuk wouldn't be getting extended? No, because I don't think the 49ers were ever intending for Danny Gray to be this huge, good receiver. Maybe with Trey Lance, but they like to redshirt a lot of first-year players. And so you're going to see a lot of guys this year that were drafted last year be impact starters this year. But Danny Gray, I always feel like he was kind of like a speed receiver, and maybe he could become more than that. But no, I do not think that is the case. I think Brandon Ayuk is just a different talent. He always has been. And yeah, Danny Gray, I think he's going to add depth to this receiving core this next year. But I don't know if I don't know if you would take a unproven product. I mean, let's see what we have in Danny Gray this year, but I don't know if you would take an unproven product in Danny Gray and replace him over Brandon Ayuk, who's done really good numbers for the last 3 years. I just don't know you would do that. And even in 2022, when he had in 2021, when he had a slight down year, he still did pretty good. He still put up 700-800 yards. So, and the thing is Brandon Ayuk, the over the middle stuff isn't necessarily his strength, I would say. So, yeah. So let's move on a little bit now, though. Chase Young, I want to talk about this guy popped out to me because this is really the typical thing of this guy's had injuries, but when he's played really well, and he's played like a top 10 defensive end in the league. I think the 49ers could go after him. Hear me out, okay? He actually, in his time in the NFL, has not had a healthy season. I can look up his games played right now. Hold on, it's loading. I had it all written down on my phone. But with Chase Young, it's he's not going to be, when he enters free agency next year, he's not going to be a huge contract guy. He's probably only going to get 9-10 million. But the thing that I like about Chase Young is he's a guy that you could sign for relatively cheap, put him opposite to Nick Bosa, both Ohio State guys, develop him a little bit more. And since our defensive line, especially our defensive end room, is so deep, he doesn't have to play at the Washington Commanders. This guy had to produce because he was their top defensive end. But here, he could split reps with Drake Jackson, or he could split reps with or Javon Hargrave, who is going to play a little bit of defensive end as well. So it's like, he doesn't have to have a full workload. So this is something that, like, we're not going to have him this year, but it's something looking ahead to next year. It's like, so for example, 2020, his rookie season, he played 15 games, right? 2021, he played 9 games. And then in 2022, he played 3 games. So he has played okay, they haven't made the playoffs, I don't think either. No, actually they did one time, but in a regular season game. So let's see. They had a 17-game season for the first time last year, so that's 34, 50. So out of 50 games, I believe he's played 27 of those, so a little more than 50% of his games. So it's not a huge, he's gotten injured quite a bit, but say what you will about PFF, but this guy has had, last season in PFF, he didn't actually have he's never had a bad PFF rating. Obviously, in 2020, his rookie season, he had 33 tackles, tied for 11th in the league. He had 6 sacks, tied for 31st. And then forced fumbles were 5 forced fumbles, tied for second place. And his grade was an 87.2 PFF grade, which I don't know what you say about PFF grades, but that's one of the highest grades, 87.2 out of 100. That's one of the highest grades for a defensive end. So I just think that you can't, he had 28 hurries as well, which is really good in 2020. Total pressure is 40. So he's played well when he has played. He's had good ratings when he has played. I think last year he had a 70 overall pass rush grade, which is good for only playing 3 games. So he's played well when he's played, and that's why I think the 49ers could do something with him. Signing for $10 million, something like that, and don't give him a full workload, develop him a little bit more, and see what happens. I think that would be great for the 49ers. So, did the 49ers pick up an international player? The Lions signed a guy from Australia. I don't know about the Lions signing a guy from Australia, but the 49ers do have an international player. His name is, what is it? It's something Gutierrez. I think it's Alex Gutierrez, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bebop Jones, he's from Mexico. Bebop Jones says, "Sup, camper? What's good, Bebop Jones? Nice to see you in here. Guys, put in the comments who you would like to see the 49ers, if there's any guys that next year that are getting into free agency who you would like to see the 49ers pick up. I really like Chase Young. Also, what do you think of the 49ers draft picks this year? I liked the 49ers safety position that they got, first pick overall, Jair Brown. I like that pick a lot. And again, now that we've got a little bit more people in here, I would like to say that on Tuesday night, it's not set in stone yet, but I will probably be having Steph Sanchez from 49K podcast. That should be a lot of fun. And we'll be going deeper into the 49ers draft picks and stuff like that. I just didn't really have time tonight to get to that. I probably have to get off in about 5 minutes. Rick Schneider's Washington Commanders sports writer said that Chase Young never attended voluntary workouts that take place. This is the first year Chase Young has showed up. Interesting. I did not know that. I don't really I cover other teams, but I'm not locked in or I'm not involved in other teams. I don't have Twitter for the Washington Commanders. I cover other news, but I'm not plugged into those fan bases. So that's interesting. Thank you for that. That's interesting. Maybe his work ethic. the 49ers like guys who are consistent and disciplined. So it's just a thought. Bebop Jones says Alfredo. Oh, sorry. It's Alfredo Gutierrez. Yes. So that's the guy, the right tackle from Mexico that we are developing. Although we've been developing him for 3 years, so I don't know when he's actually going to get a shot at the NFL. Voluntary workouts that take place around this year. Okay. Yannick Ngakoue, Chase Young sounds very enticing too. Yes, Yannick Ngakoue, I'm pretty sure he got signed by some, I think it was the Falcons this last year, but I think it was only a 1-year deal. He's kind of an older guy, but yeah, he would still, I mean, we still need defensive tackle. I'm looking at our room and I'm like, we have the guy that we drafted, I believe it was from UCF last year, the 6th round pick. Talia, I think it's Talia Davis, and he should be good, but we don't have a ton of depth at that defensive tackle position. We do have a few guys that can play both. Like, I think we brought back, we brought back Kerry Hyder. He can play both, but we don't really have because Javon Hargrave is not a very good run blocker. So we don't really have that many guys who can stop the run. Yes, the Lions signed a tight end from Australia. He is a lucky bloke. Interesting. I wanted Jeremy Chin from North Carolina, but we picked up Jair Brown. Jeremy Chin. It's like with the draft, it's like there's so many guys that you could look into. And it's like there's so many prospects that, like, I was looking at the 2nd round. I'm like, half of these guys I haven't even looked into yet. I looked into a lot of prospects, but there's so many prospects that you can't cover them all. I'm very excited, he said, Bebop Jones, about Jair Brown. Me too. This guy has played every position along the secondary except outside corner. I think he starts day one at nickel corner. His coverage skills don't seem bad, and you don't need a ton of speed for nickel corner, but I do think he starts weak side, nickel corner, and adds some really good depth. I mean, he's a physical player, and I like how we prioritize cornerback this year. I really do, because our secondary room has been okay the last few years, but I think the amount we went out and got like 2 free agents this last year. And then we also drafted like 2 secondary players. So we really invested in our secondary this last year. I pick and choose who I follow. They have to be informative. Time is always tight. Yeah. Yeah, very true. Thank you for following me, though. Bebop Jones does remind me. So again, I'm not, I don't know every guy that we have brought back off the top of my head, but he does give up Kevin Givens. Yes. Kevin Givens is kind of like the smaller type defensive tackle, but fierce in the middle. Yeah, that'll be some depth there. Jeremy Chin for the then Wilkes secondary defense. Okay. Okay, so he's not a prospect. I was like, I did not see him. But yeah, he's for the Carolina Panthers. I'll look him up. Jeremy Chin. Interesting. I've probably heard of him. Jeremy Chin. Okay. Did he just get drafted? No. Nah. No, he didn't get drafted. Interesting. Yeah, I'll look him up more. I need to get more into him. You know whose draft I really like, though? The Seahawks draft. That draft, like, I'm going to probably have this topic on Tuesday when I do another show. Like, the Seahawks had such a good draft that I think they're close. Like, they're getting close to the 49ers in talent. I mean, I like the cornerback out of Illinois that they got. I love the Zach Charbonnet pick. Zach Charbonnet went from Michigan as a running back at Michigan and then transferred to UCLA. Love that pick. That's going to be a really good tandem between him, Walker, and him. And then obviously getting Jackson Smith Najigba, who fell to them at number 20. Getting him to kind of back up DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I'm pretty sure they got as well. I think they got a guard with their 3rd pick, I believe, in the 2nd round, or center. Did they get? I can look them up exactly. Seahawks draft picks, but yeah, I really like their draft. Okay, so let's get to the next topic, which will kind of be my final topic before I get out of here. Joe Burrow. Now we all know this, but I want to say, and we all know that, I mean, Joe Burrow is great. There's nothing much to be said about him. But Joe Burrow is getting what he wants. Like, he obviously got his fifth-year option picked up. That's no surprise. But they went out and they fixed their offensive line. They got Orlando Brown at the left. Maybe didn't fix it completely, but they got Orlando Brown at the left, one of the best left tackles in the league. And then they also got Alex Kappa, one of the best right guards in the league, who can also play a little bit of right tackle. And it's like, yeah, they went up and kind of bolstered that offensive line a little bit. And so he won't get killed back there again. But they're going to have some hard decisions to make because T. Higgins, sorry guys, my throat is like really dry and I didn't bring any water with me. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, they're going to let one of those guys go because they can't keep both of them around, and they're going to have to make some tough decisions within the next few years. Ben, were you surprised that the 49ers didn't draft a center late in the draft? While the 49ers re-signed Brendel and signed Feliciano, still Brendel can't be trusted if you ask CG Ruthless. Love CG Ruthless. Shout out to him because he is one of my, like, he goes hard. His work ethic is really, really good. I love how he just keeps grinding it every day. Brendel is kind of, to me, like a average center who can run the offense for you, isn't elite, but in the 49ers scheme, he looks like above average. I just don't know. I mean, that, like, even before Brock Purdy got injured, we all go back to that play that happened on the right side that got Brock Purdy injured. But if you guys remember, he had ribs he had injuries all year that he was battling with that really could have taken him out sooner. He almost went out. I'm going to put the mic back here so I don't have to keep leaning forward. He almost went out last year with an injury in like week 15 against the Seahawks. Like, this guy was battling injuries all year long. Against the Cowboys, I remember him getting hit and like getting hopping up hobbled. And so it's like, it wasn't just a problem that Eagles game. It was a problem all offseason, all postseason too. That's my concern. I hope that Geno Smith plays like he did that last playoff game. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, he's not a super mobile quarterback, so that bodes well for the 49ers. I like the Feliciano pickup, he said. Yeah, I do too. I think that's a good depth. Now, if Matt Ryan is our backup, the right tackle that we picked up, if he's our backup right tackle, I'm going to be pissed. Proven starter. Yeah, Feliciano has played a while in the league. Joe Burrow, when you hear the Spanish announcers cover the Bengals game, Joe Burrow. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then he says, Uro. Yeah. Did you see CG Ruthless a rant on Brendel? CG was really upset. No, I did not. These days, it's like I don't have a ton of time to keep up with every YouTube content creator. Doesn't mean I think they're bad. I just think that it's just hard. So I keep up with like a few guys, and then that's about it. So yeah. So yeah, that's what I've got for you guys today. Before I get out of here, again, a show coming on Tuesday. There'll be clips as usual all throughout the week. And so we'll get more into the NFL, the 49ers draft prospects. I should have last week, but we'll get more into that. We'll also get into more like a deeper dive into some of the NFC West prospects. Like some of the NFC West teams, like the prospects that they drafted, because that was super interesting, especially the Seahawks draft was a really good draft. I didn't have time to cover it last week, but I promise I will this week. So we'll be getting more into that. I mean, this was a fun draft to cover, and I covered it a lot before the draft started. So, yeah, we'll throughout this week I'll be covering it, even though it kind of seems like old news because the draft was over a week ago, but it doesn't matter. I saw he was upset about what Debo was saying online. What was Debo saying online? Um, Still upset about the Eagles about the Eagles loss apparently. Yeah, I am upset. I am upset about that. Feliciano Alfredo, LOL. Feliciano Alfredo. Alfredo Gutierrez. I feel like whenever I say like out of like names that have to have an accent to sound right, like it's annoying because I always butcher all of the names that like Gutierrez is like a if you say it right, it sounds really good, but like I'm butchering the name right now. If you say it in a Spanish accent, I wish I had a Spanish accent so I could say it right, that name. You have a good week, Ben. Ben, I think Peter, the 49ers content creator, goes live on Tuesdays too. It's whatever, man. There's so many content creators going live each night, each day. You just kind of have to go live, man, because otherwise, if you went by that logic, you would never be able to go live because there's a content creator going live every day. So yeah, guys, we'll get out of here. Go subscribe to the channel, guys. Thank you for the continued support because every video that I post now is getting significant amount of views. So guys, I love what you guys have been doing for me. I want to keep bringing the content to you guys. Man, I can see that 1,000 milestone just coming up even more. I ask, please don't overlap. They can do it. LOL. I ask, please don't overlap. They can do it. Okay. Sure. And then he shows a bell sign. Bebop Jones, thanks for coming in. He shows a bell sign. Yeah, please put your notifications on, guys. I'll probably be posting in the community chat as well. So if you go there, yeah, it's the hair. Very wild sports. I don't think my hair is that bad right now. It's a little curly right now, and when it gets curly, it kind of gets frizzy. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but yeah. We'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of your night. I have to get out of here because I have school still to do. It is 10:15. I have dishes, school. I'm gonna be up late tonight. But the work ethic is real. Peace out.